And this morning, we are continuing to follow the races all across the state. So for those results, well, some of them weren't what we were expecting.
Yeah, and some we won't know for a while. With the redistricting and everything, strong debates and campaigns, New York State's major positions look like they're going to remain Democratic, but we've got political analyst Bob Davis and Ken Kruly joining us this morning to help put things in perspective. We talked about national politics last time. Now let's focus in on this state. And Bob, we'll start with you. Redistricting was a major issue going into yesterday. How has that impacted the balance of power in New York State?
I think there's going to be very little change. The Democrats are going to maintain an overwhelming majority in the state assembly, and I still believe they'll have a supermajority in the state senate. Redistricting, the assembly district lines were drawn by the state legislature, and those were retained, although the Republican Party challenged the drawing of the lines for Congress and the state Senate, and that was upheld, or not upheld. The lines that were initially drawn were not upheld. The court overturned them, and they redrew the lines, which is why you wound up having not only a June primary, but you had an August primary, which has never happened in New York State, not in my lifetime anyway. But you know, at the end of the day, despite the fact that the lines were redrawn in the Assembly and in the Senate, the results were maintained with the Democrats in total control, not only of the Senate and the Assembly, but now the governor's office as well.
Ken, was it bail reform? Was it crime? Was it the economy? What were the main points that brought the voters out to the polls this year?
It was definitely those issues. It was also how the issues were played. The seemingly non-stop commercials that were running, they're very brutal commercials in some cases, had a real impact, I think. And the issue of crime or criminal justice really didn't get discussed very much because there was the commercials playing up the excesses of the whole thing. Besides that, people are upset with inflation, they're concerned about the economy, and sometimes they send messages to politicians in a situation like that. And in the case of Hochul, I think she was able to effectively draw Donald Trump into the picture because of Zeldin's close association with him, and that did not help Zeldin because Donald Trump is not very popular in New York State.
And for either one of you, since the race between Hochul and Zeldin was so much closer than a lot of people thought it was going to be, is this a message to Kathy Hochul that some things do need to change in this state, like taxes or bail reform? Is this a message that has been sent to Kathy Hochul?
Well, I think it is. I mean, during the campaign, we heard the story about New York State having the highest exodus in terms of population of any state in America. And that's a problem because taxes have been, and we all know it, in New York State are excessively higher than in most states in the nation. So that's always going to be an issue. But the problem you got is for Republicans, the Democrats have a 2-to-1 enrollment advantage statewide. That's over 3.5 million voter differential. And that's going to always make it tough for Republicans to win statewide. But you know, Zeldin did a very respectable job with respect to the fact that he came in within 4 to 6 points of beating Kathy Hochul. But at the end of the day, the Democrats control everything in New York State, and you know, they've got to behave themselves. They've got to reduce taxes. They got to, you know, give people a reason to continue to live in New York State, or a lot of us are going to continue to leave.
All right, Ken, very quickly, your response, does it send a message?
Yeah, I think that a message was sent and received, and I expect Governor Hochul to follow through on that. State legislature is a different matter. There's a lot of control in the legislature from New York City, and they sometimes have a different view of things than we have up here. And so I think that the message may be delivered. Whether it's going to be effective in terms of changing something remains to be seen.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.